Well, I thought it was a good card. I mean, I don't think it didn't have quite the same hype as the last one did, but there were still some really good fights on it.
Dude, good fights, but a lot of disappointments. Like
I
I'm
agree.
just okay. We can go one by one, but I have a lot to talk about. Holy crap!
So let's go through the main card. Let's start at the top, actually. Let's start with Volkanovski versus Lopes, because that's the one that we watched literally 30 minutes ago. This fight looked exactly like the first fight did, which was a little disappointing because we said before this fight that Lopes needed to make it ugly. He needed to push Volk back, eat some punches, and throw 3, 4, 5 punch combinations. And he just couldn't put it together.
It was just like the left hook, the right uppercut, the 1-2. It's like, dude, you have one fight to watch to expose Volk, and that is Ilya's fight, and you did nothing similar to him. You literally it's just copy and pasted from the fight before.
Yeah. It's frustrating because you almost feel frustrated for him because it's like he has the tools he needs to win that fight. You know he's got good power. We know he's got a good chin. He can close distance, eat some shots, and land a big one, like we did to John Silva, right? Like we know he has that ability. He just couldn't put it together. I think DC put it really well. He said it was like a cat that was trying to chase his own tail. Volk, when you watch Volk and you just look at his legs, he is constantly moving back and forth.
Yeah.
He's circling, he's stepping in, he's stepping out, he goes in, he goes out. And it's almost like Lopes never had a moment where Volk stood still where he'd go, oh, now's my time. Now I can jump on him and go for it. It's like he was waiting for an opportunity when Volk was going to slow down or sit still for him to launch an attack. And Volk just never gave him that opportunity. And it looked exactly like the first fight. Volk did exactly what he needed to do. He said he wanted to wrestle, but all he had to do was just run in circles. Just run in circles and throw your jab and throw your leg kick.
And what's annoying is that Volk didn't change his game plan. He did exactly what he did in the first fight. And it just shows how low of a fight IQ and game plan that Diego did. He didn't make a single change. It's like, I always compare Diego to Yuri, and they both thrive on chaos. But unlike Yuri, Diego is incapable of making chaos. He waits. He does really good against chaotic people like Jean Silva. But Yuri will, he will bring
Put the
chaos
pressure
into his
on.
fights. Right.
Yeah.
Diego's like,
He gets in their face.
I'm not afraid to swing and bang, but I'm only going to do that if you do that to me. And it's like, you can't do that against Volkanovski, you know? It's stupid.
I mean, what Yuri did to
Khalil.
Khalil is a good example of kind of what Diego Lopes needed to do to Volkanovski. Because if Yuri let him, Khalil would have done the exact same thing he did to Jamal Hill to Yuri. He would have done the exact same thing if Yuri let him. And Yuri was losing that fight because he kind of did in the first round or two. Like he wasn't putting his foot on the pedal as much as he needed to. And so Yuri had that moment before round 3 where he was like, I need to turn this into an ugly fight. And so he did. And I think we could smell it in the air that Lopes needed to start having that mentality after probably the second round. It was too technical. And when we look back on our weapons and weaknesses we did for this, what did we say for Lopes? I said for his weakness was going to be not committing enough to his offense, right? You said kind of the same thing. He needs to bite on the mouthpiece, tank a couple shots because he can afford to, right? And get Volk backed up, get Volk out of position, because when Volk gets out of position, he's pretty vulnerable. It's very rare because his footwork is money, but when he does get out of position, his chin is always in the air. He's very hittable, and that's Lopes' opportunity. I will say, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say he needs to beat Pantoja. They both have crazy good chins, but Diego still acts. He still looks a little afraid of getting hit. Pantoja does really good. He knows he has a good chin. He's self-aware. He bites down. He tucks his chin, and he tanks shots. That's exactly how he beat Kai Kara France. He took tons on a chin. He took tons of shots on the chin, but he just powered through. He got the takedown. He got the submission. Diego he's timid in his fights.
Yeah.
Yeah, frick.
Especially in this fight. Yeah, I just think he needed to be a little bit more chaos. He didn't, it's almost like he gave Volk too much respect. You know, he needed to kind of treat this fight like as if Volk really couldn't do much to him. Now, granted, Volk did land some good shots. To his credit, he did land some stuff. One of them, you know, kind of made Lopez look like he was going to sit in a chair a little bit. You know what I mean? He kind of has that look where his knees kind of give out.
Buckle.
Lopez had one really good shot. I need to rewatch it again, but he had one really good shot where he hit Lopez, or he hit Volkanovski with a really good left hand that sat him down. It looked like a slip at first, but it really was a knockdown. And the other thing too that became pretty clear is that the grappling may have been a good angle for Lopez to take in this fight, that he didn't do enough. You know, I remember seeing him feint a couple takedowns, like just something small, like a little snatch single, like he just kind of casually reaches down toward Volkanovski's lead leg. And Volkanovski was giving him some big reactions. I mean, that's something that he could have used to his advantage, but he didn't really do much until really the last round.
Yeah.
But can't take it away from Volk. I mean, he has actually aged really well. You know, some people, they have some tough fights and they kind of never look the same. Tony Ferguson, Gilbert Burns, Michael Chandler, you know, it's like they kind of get to a point where they really start to look like they're losing it. And Volkanovski's not young. He's 37. I mean, this is well past the age where a lot of people start to kind of taper off. But Volkanovski looks as good as he ever has, you know?
Yeah. It's funny how you see fighters like Kevin Lee who kind of hit their prime when they're 24. And then you see fighters like Volk and Pereira who hit their prime probably in their mid-30s, and it's continuing up till their, 40s, right?
Yeah.
Glover Teixeira.
Yeah. Or, I mean, think about Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt is I think he's younger than Volk by a few years. And nobody has cared about him since, I want to say, 2016, 2017.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like literally 10 years ago. Yeah. What do you think is next for Volkanovski at this point? I mean, who should he fight next?
People are throwing around Movsar versus Lerone for a title eliminator. I don't think Lerone even deserves that. I mean, knocking out Aaron Pico was a good highlight for his career, but does knocking out a debut fighter from Bellator grant you a title shot? I don't think so. Movsar is deserving of a title shot. I think Lerone should fight Diego Lopez for a title eliminator, or not if Diego wins that, because he still needs like 3 wins. But I would say I think Movsar should fight Volk next.
Yeah, I think we're getting to a point where giving Lopez another rematch against Volkanovski he has to really prove it, going forward, because he has to prove that he's going to be a different version of himself the next time he fights Volk. It's the same problem we talked about before, where if you give guys rematches too often, it starts to bottleneck the division. And so I agree with you. I think Lopez needs to get 2 or maybe even 3 more wins until he fights
3.
If Volk is still champion at that point.
Yeah.
I agree with you that if you're choosing between Lerone Murphy and Movsar, I'd probably give the title shot to Movsar just because he has a longer win streak and his more recent wins are against higher quality opponents. But we were talking about this earlier. Where the heck has Yair Rodriguez been? When is he fighting? I think one of the guys, either John Silva, Diego Lopez, or Lerone Murphy needs to fight Yair because he's ranked number 2 or 3, right? He's a perfect person to. I mean, when we're talking about a few people who are kind of in the conversation about who can be getting closer to a title shot, we need to cross off a couple names. I think having Yair face one of these people would give some kind of a decisive answer to this issue. But now, what do you think Diego Lopez needs to do differently? I mean, I think we've already been kind of covering that, but what do you think? I mean, if this rematch, if a trilogy fight ever happens someday, I mean, I have to wonder if Volkanovski is just a bad matchup for him. And I think maybe that's part of it. But if he's going to try and win this fight again, what does he need to do differently?
Change teams. I mean, that's kind of extreme, but I'm still in shock of how badly he performed. He did not adapt a single time in that fight. He didn't try to wrestle. He didn't change his combos. He didn't throw large combinations. It's a disappointment. And what I want to bring up to you that I'm just confused about, remember when Diego first got into the UFC and he was aggressive? He was finishing every fight within 2 minutes. And then something in the last year just snapped and he just turned into a technical fighter. And I'm just baffled about when that happened. You know what I mean? He looks like a shell of himself in these last couple fights.
Yeah, when you look at the version of him that fought
Pat Sabatini,
Sadiq Youssef, guys like that, he was much more offensive in those fights than he was even against John Silva. He got a KO in that fight, but that was off of his back foot. I mean, he was getting pressed when he got the KO, right? It was very different. I don't know. It's almost like he kind of psychs himself out. It's like he's trying to wait for the right opportunity, but against the highest level opponents, that opportunity never really presents itself, you know?
And I say that changing teams because of what we saw in Mauricio Ruffy.
Yeah.
Mauricio Ruffy was training with Volk, and he looked really good. And
he looked very good.
Part of me just thinks that maybe if Diego Lopes
something fresh
did that as well, maybe he'd look different, you know?
Yeah, get some fresh influence. Volk says he doesn't want to retire, and he has some savages coming his way. He's got Steve Garcia. He's got Kevin Vallejos, Jean Silva. These are guys that are going to be in the title picture a year from now. And those guys are much harder fights, I think, for Volk than Diego Lopes is, because Jean Silva is not going to try and, stay on the outside and kind of play that game. He will really press him, and it could be bad. I think Volkanovski probably, I hope he fights soon. He didn't seem to take a ton of damage in this fight. He seemed pretty healthy. Diego Lopes looked like he hurt his foot. I think it was one of those kicks that he threw to Volkanovski's body, hit him right on the elbow, and it looked like it kind of hurt his foot when that happened. But hopefully he can come back soon as well. But I would love to see Volk fight sometime early summer. You know what I mean? Fight, or even in the spring sometime. Fight in April or something, and just cross off one of those names. Fight Movsar, let Lerone Murphy fight Jean Silva, or let him fight Diego Lopes or something like that, or Yair. I mean, you could have Lopez fight Yair. You could have Lerone Murphy fight Jean Silva. You could do something like that, and then have the winner of one of those fights fight the winner of Volk and Movsar, something like that. Yeah. I think that could work out. But man, Volk looked good. He was fast. He was mobile. He was constantly moving, switching stances.
He looked like he always does.
I don't know what else to say. Yeah, he looked as good as he ever has.
I'm actually very, very excited for Movsar to fight Volk. Just the difference of that matchup. You know what I mean? Volk is so used to fighting the technical fighter. You know what I mean? And Movsar, I think, presents a new challenge. I'm not usually excited to watch Movsar fight, but I think in this case, I am very excited to watch him fight. Yeah.
I think Movsar will try to wrestle with him. And I think that's a side of Volkanovski's game that we don't see as much, that I really wish we did. Because I actually think he's a very good, really strong grappler. I mean, you could even see it when Diego Lopes hopped on his back. He was just taking apart his body triangle and shaking him off really, really well. I was surprised he jumped guillotine at one point too. I think in the first or second round. That caught me by surprise as well. I think it was partially because it happened in like the last 30 seconds of the round. So yeah, he knew that if it wasn't going to work out, he wasn't going to be totally screwed. But overall it was a pretty decent fight. I mean, I have to say, being the headliner of the card, it was a little disappointing, even though it was a good performance from Volk, that it wasn't as competitive.
That's on Diego.
I think, it's not really Volkanovski's fault. He kind of did his thing, but it was a good win for him. And then we had, of course, Dan Hooker versus Benoit Saint-Denis. I think we all knew this fight was going to be a good one. This fight reminded me a lot of Darren Till versus Dricus du Plessis, because in the first round, it was very clear that Dan Hooker had the tools to win that fight, right? When he was doing his thing, landing the teep, throwing the head kick. Benoit Saint-Denis didn't have any answers for it. Even the guillotines. Like, I will be amazed if Benoit Saint-Denis is able to pull off, even get remotely close to beating some people who will commit way harder to those submissions. We were talking about this. If Benoit Saint-Denis fights Charles Oliveira, he's getting slimed out. If he fights Max Holloway, he's getting slimed out. If he fights Ilia Topuria, he's getting slimed out. Like, it's almost, in his last few fights, it's looked pretty good, but I actually don't think that he has the right style to break through the top 5. He's got a good style to break through ranks 5 to 10, right? But if he fights anybody in the top 5, he is not winning those fights. He's too hittable. His style of wrestling is way too prone to submissions. He fights Paddy, he's getting slimed out. Like, Paddy would finish that guillotine. The kinds of guillotines that Dan Hooker was throwing up, Paddy would finish those. No doubt in my mind. Mm-hmm. Paddy's also gigantic as well. And it just felt like Dan Hooker made too many tactical errors in this. Like, he had like an outside trip type thing that he was trying to finish that ultimately got himself taken down, kind of like a triangle mount where basically Benoit Saint-Denis it's like a mount, but instead of having his legs around Dan Hooker's waist, he had one of the legs was over his shoulder, right? And he had one knee up. So he's basically like kind of sitting in like a crouch position, but if he rolled over onto his back, he could have locked out a triangle, right? It's a triangle mount. And he had control of one of Dan Hooker's arms and he was just dropping elbows. And that situation could have been completely avoided if Dan Hooker just kept it on the feet. He was doing so well, right? And it makes you wonder, if Dan Hooker is doing that good, if he's threatening BSD that much with submission attempts, he's threatening him that much with good long rangey attacks. Even BSD said that at the end. He was like, he had a good game plan. Like, I had no answer for his long range attacks. He was controlling the space. Imagine what Charles Oliveira would do to him. Like, there's no way that fight would get past the first round. It's almost like BSD is too aggressive for his own good sometimes. I mean, obviously it's worked out in his last few fights, but we saw glimpses of what that can look like, right? Mm-hmm. When he fought Moicano, he got absolutely destroyed. Obviously, Dustin Poirier destroyed him, but...
Dude, what I hate about Dan Hooker is that he doesn't know what he's good at. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, you have been fighting for 10, 15 years and you're still attempting takedowns on people who have good ground games. It's obviously it's a sign of low IQ, but it's so difficult to watch that happen in real time and see him rocking BSD in the feet, looking like he almost could have gotten him out of there.
Yeah, it was a winnable fight on the feet.
Oh,
yeah,
100%. The Dan Hooker KO prop was just like jingling over his head. You know what I mean? And it just never happened. It's frustrating. He's a street fighter. He belongs on street beefs, is what I have to say about that. You know what I mean?
See, I don't know if I agree with that, because I think he does have the technical skills on the feet to pick people apart. I think I get what you're saying though. It is frustrating to see him. It's frustrating from our perspective, like from everyone watching it, it's so obvious in the first round what he needs to do to win that fight, but he just doesn't put it together. It's like he doesn't commit to it, It's not
a technique problem. It's an IQ problem. He has the tactics, IQ of an amateur fighter. That's the IQ he has. He has the he has the power, he has the technique, he has the mentality to go to war, but he just can't do what he needs to do. He can't adapt. It's not a technique problem to me. It's an IQ problem. And that's what's holding him from being the top of the division.
Yeah. Well, it was a good win though for Benoit Saint-Denis. I think he will probably break through into the top 5. I could see him fighting Paddy. I actually think that would be probably the best fight to make at this point, because I think Paddy needs a few fights before he should fight for the belt again. It's looking like Gaethje's going to fight Ilia, and so I would bet the winner between Charles and Max maybe needs one more win. I think if Max beats Charles, he could probably get a title shot, but if Charles wins that fight, he'll probably need one more win. I think Paddy versus BSD is the perfect fight to make. And I think Paddy would absolutely destroy him in that fight. That's a really bad matchup for BSD because Paddy is super tough, right? He's not going to be intimidated by a lot of the things that BSD will throw at him, and he will take advantage of all those submission opportunities that BSD gives him. BSD just sticks his head out way too much. He just he gives people his neck, and he can't do that against Paddy. Yeah. And that's kind of his only way he wins, So I think that would not end well for him.
Ilya's got to start fighting because give it 4 months and we're gonna have 3 contenders that deserve a title shot, and Ilya's still dealing with family problems. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We have
Ilya needs to fight.
We have Gaethje. We're gonna have Arman, and we're gonna have the winner of Charles and Max. It's like, okay, we gotta who's fighting who? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Ilya needs to fight Gaethje soon, before the White House card. He needs to fight him in April or May, and then maybe Arman or something like that can fight the winner of that fight or something along those lines. But yeah. And then of course we had Rafael Fiziev versus Mauricio Ruffy. I did not think this fight was going to end in a finish. I was very surprised. We didn't talk about the props at all, which we'll probably do for this upcoming weekend's card. But I thought that Mauricio Ruffy's KO ability, like the chances of him getting a KO in this fight, was being overblown, and I was proven wrong. Mauricio Ruffy fights really has a really pretty style. It's really technical and flashy, but Fiziev is fast. Historically, he's had a pretty good chin. He's always game for really competitive fights. And Ruffy, I think, honestly, he's, the more I watch him, the more I think his best attribute is his speed. I mean, basically what happened in the knockout sequence was he flashed his jab, Fiziev went to parry it, and he tried to counter with a check hook, but Ruffy beat him by throwing his cross right down the middle. Very similar to the way that Sean Strickland dropped Israel Adesanya. Very similar to the way that Kamaru Usman knocked out Jorge Masvidal. And the dude is fast. Fiziev's leg kicks looked like they were starting to hurt him, though, at the very beginning. He did a really good job beating up his leg. He had some nice kicks in there as well. But, Mauricio Ruffy's really, really good at rolling with punches. And he's just fast. He just sneaks punches in when people just don't expect it.
Yeah. No, I agree. His defensive style, though, the way he slips punches, it looks really cool, but I'd be lying if I say it didn't make me nervous. I'm not gonna lie.
A little bit, yeah. You find someone like Ilya.
The way he rolls, if somebody threw a long combination with him, I'd be sweating a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
A little bit.
Yeah, Mauricio. But I mean, this is a beautiful win. I mean, Rafael Fiziev has historically a great chin. I mean, I'm trying to think, and I don't remember him being dropped besides Justin Gaethje. You know what I mean? I've never seen him rocked besides that either. So yeah, Ruffy proved a lot of people wrong, including me and you.
Yeah, I think, man, Rafael Fiziev has had a rough go. He looked really disappointed after this loss, and I got a feel for him because he had that really close fight with Justin Gaethje, right, after having a pretty long win streak. I mean, that was really a title eliminator. Then he had the fluke injury against Gamrot where he hurt his knee, planting, when he was throwing a kick. And then he had the short notice fight against Gaethje that, I mean, he stepped in on short notice, so we can't really fault him for losing that fight. Good win against Bahamondes, and then now this K loss against Ruffy. When you look at his last 5 fights, he's 1-4. I feel like he is much better than what that looks like. He is a tough fight for anybody. He's fast. He's well-rounded. He's one of those guys that just looks strong, coordinated, somebody who is athletic and obviously has really good stand-up game. It just goes to show how deep this division is because Mauricio Ruffy he's a newcomer at the moment. And I'm really curious to see what happens next. I think he should fight easily. He should, if the UFC really wants to run him up to the top, they could give him a fight in the top 8. I mean, I guess Rafael Fiziev is ranked number 9, so he'll probably climb up to either 8 or 9. And I think they should keep feeding him higher ranked opponents. I think he looked really good. He looked like he improved quite a bit since the last fight. He was measured like he was, but he wasn't so timid that he just allowed Fiziev to kind of steamroll him. Because he does tend to fight on his back foot quite a bit.
You should fight Dan Hooker. I like that fight.
Yeah.
I think it's a winnable fight for Dan too, because Ruffy will not look to take him down. I mean, I think, who knows how game plans work, but I like to see that fight.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. And then, man, another kind of frustrating one. Tai Tuivasa versus Thaleson Teixeira. Now, I don't know if I can really be too mad at Tai Tuivasa, because I think him not committing to a finish at the end of the fight was less about not knowing that he needed to put the pressure on and make it ugly, but it was more the fact that he literally didn't have it in him in that moment to do it. I think when he was clinching up, because basically the fight was, well, he came out really hot in the first minute. He was swinging. He wanted to take his head off. And Thaleson Teixeira takes him down in the first and second round. Tai Tuivasa's takedown defense is pretty atrocious. I'm not going to lie.
Darren Till flashback.
I mean, he had a moment where he was basically in a sprawled kind of position, right? Where Thaleson Teixeira was holding on to a single, but his posture was completely destroyed. And I'm like yelling at the screen, get a crossface, get a belly whizzer, and just push him off. Drop your hips, cross face, just shove him away and create the space to break the lock. And he got taken down again, and that may have lost him the fight, because that was in round 2, right? Round 1, he came out really heavy, and Thaleson Teixeira timed a really good double. Yeah, I want to say it was a double leg. Maybe it was a single, but he got a takedown and basically just had top control for the rest of the round. Round 2, again, was fairly close. Tai had some good moments, but he allowed Teixeira to get that takedown again. And then round 3 is where everything just hit the fan, and it was just an ugly fight. And that's honestly when it looked like he could have won that. I mean, he was tagging Thaleson Teixeira. It just when it looks ugly, right? Just the big overhands, like it's heavyweight. You know what I mean? I mean, at this point in ranks 10 through 15 at heavyweight, it's kind of a disaster.
It's stupid, dude. Every fight is like, it gets ugly. It gets ugly. When will heavyweight actually have skill? That's my question. I feel like every division in the UFC, the skill gap has been increasing every year, and they're getting so good. It still looks like the 90s when you see heavyweights fight. Like, what is going on? You know what I mean? This is why Walter Walker is doing so well. He literally escaped the Matrix.
Yeah, he just no one knows how to defend 50-50. I'll just drop into 50-50 and get 5 heel hooks in a row. Yeah. I think the problem with heavyweight is that the division just isn't deep. Like, in the top 5, it's fairly, like, there's some fairly skilled people. I think Sorogan is solid. Tom Aspinall's solid, but sometimes you got to wonder. I mean, hey, this might be a hot take, but I think if you took the software of Tom Aspinall's game and put it into the hardware of a lightweight or a welterweight, like you took Tom Aspinall's game and style and another way to think of it is you just shrunk Tom Aspinall down to like 170. I don't think he'd be in the top 10 at 170. I just don't think his bag is deep enough. Like a lot of the reason why he made his way to the top of the division was because he's fast, strong, athletic, and it's got a good 1-2 and good takedowns. Like that's all it takes. You don't have to have crazy good footwork. You don't have to have crazy good head movement. It's like literally all it takes is being fit and having decent, good fundamentals, and you will be champion at heavyweight. I mean, that's how DC became champ at heavyweight. It's like, nobody here knows how to wrestle.
Yeah,
I can become champion.
I've said it 1,000 times, not on podcasts, but just in general. It's like, I think most light heavyweights that are ranked could be higher ranked at heavyweight. Look at Alexander Rakic. He's going on a losing streak. Dude, you're like 6'4". Go to heavyweight. You'll guarantee to be top 5. Guaranteed.
Stop cutting weight.
Stop cutting weight. Yeah, literally.
Yeah. But man, that was tough. I actually thought he was going to get him out of there. Dude, another thing, Thaleson Teixeira his record is extremely padded. There's this idea that he's this crazy prospect who's going to come in and just absolutely shake things up at heavyweight. Okay, it was already a bit of a red flag that he lost to Derek Lewis, especially considering how bad Derek Lewis looked in his last fight. And when you look at the rest of his record, yeah, on paper it sounds good that he's had all round 1 KOs in his career. But then you look at his opponents, 0-1, 0-2, 1-0. It's like Khabib's record. Mm-hmm. And, he joins the UFC, fights Derek Lewis, gets KO'd in round 1. Fights Tai Tuivasa, first time going the distance literally in his MMA career. And Tai Tuivasa and Derek Lewis at this point are not the cream of the crop at heavyweight. Mm-hmm. So the next time Talison Teixeira is booked for a fight and he's a gigantic favorite, which he probably will be, maybe not as big as he was before this fight, but he probably will be, right? This is the thing about prospects. We actually, and it's actually why I think it's stupid that the UFC shows previous records, like their record in previous organizations as pros, because none of those fights matter. It's just fluff, right? And it completely pads records, and it fools people into thinking that certain people are better than they are. Mm-hmm. Same reason why a lot of people think Khabib is the greatest ever.
29-0.
Hey, look at his record, and if you strip away all the fights that literally don't matter, like he's just fighting some Uber driver, he's 12-0, 13-0, still great record. He has a great legacy, but let's not pretend like the fact that Khabib has 29 wins means anything. I mean, look at, I guess, it means something, but, compared to, say, Ilia Topuria, who has 15 wins in the UFC, right?
Yeah.
Nursultan Ruziboyev, I'm pretty sure he has like 40 wins or like 35 wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's 36-9. How many of those wins do you think are against some random, some random farmer that he fought in the Dagestani mountains? Like, how many of those wins are that? Who knows? He has 5 fights in the UFC.
I remember when he fought Joaquin Buckley, and we were all like, we're about to watch Joaquin get slimed out, and we were all betting on, Ruziboyev, and, he lost pretty handedly,
Yeah. Yeah. So what does this mean? Well, it means that when there's a prospect who's getting a lot of movement because he has a lot of round 1 finishes or whatever, and he's a minus 10,000 favorite, just remember that the UFC is the big leagues. We've seen this over and over and over again. Anytime people come to the UFC, it's an entirely different ballgame. Mm-hmm. And you have to take those records with a grain of salt. And a lot of times when there are people who have a lot of hype, you're looking for opportunities to bet against them. I mean, think about Zhang Mingyang, right? He's a good fighter, but Johnny Walker is not the best of the best at light heavyweight. He's good, but he's not the best of the best, right? He's kind of middle of the pack. Mm-hmm. And he was like a plus 500 underdog in that fight. Slimed him out, right? If Talison Teixeira is still a massive favorite in his next fight,
I'm hedging that crap.
Yes. I mean, at this point, we were looking for an opportunity to bet against him. He was gassed in the 3rd round of this fight. He did not want to be there. He was barely standing. And if Tai Tuivasa at this point, let's be real, Tai Tuivasa is not the same Tai Tuivasa he was when he was number 1 contender.
Took a year off, 2 years off.
Yeah, he's literally 0-6. Yeah, lost to Sorogan, lost to Pavlovich, lost to Volkov, lost to Tabura, lost to Rosenstrike, and now lost to Teixeira. He's 0-6. Not a good sign to go the distance with him at this point.
Yeah. Might be one of the only times where you win a fight and your stock goes down, honestly. Yeah.
I think he'll probably be a smaller favorite in his next fight, but seriously, I'm telling you, one of these times he's going to get I will say he's going to get a bit of a correction. That's what I'll say. His height meter will be corrected to be more fitting to how good he actually is at this point. And then last, Quillan Sallkild. I think Quillan Sallkild is really good at this point. I don't think there's any more I think he still needs to prove himself, but I think at this point, there's no denying that the dude he's very well rounded. He's got really good finishing instincts. Reminds me a lot of Diego Lopes when he was on his way up. You know, a lot of round one finishes.
Yeah.
Even reminds me of Sean O'Malley in some way, where even when he's fighting the cans, you're like, I can see the technique here. He's not just bum rushing people and bullying them with, you know, size or speed or power. I mean, this guy actually is very technical. So I think even when he fights some guys that are at the higher level, he's going to struggle, right? Eventually it's no longer going to look this easy. He's not going to be getting round one finishes every fight. He's going to hit, you know, he's going to start cracking into the top 10, top 15, and he's going to get some tougher fights. But I really do think that he has a future in this division. He's only 26. He had a great takedown. I think him getting a sub was probably a pretty low percentage kind of prediction for a lot of people. And yeah, I think he's demonstrated that he's very well rounded, very solid, and has a good future in this division.
For sure. Give him a ranked guy. Give him ranked.
100%.
I'd love to see him fight like Manuel Torres, Michael Chandler, but you know, we're going to see him become human when he starts fighting people that are ranked. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, dude. He fights often too.
Yeah, he does fight often. I asked you earlier because the choke was kind of a crank, and I already kind of know. I know what you're gonna say, but when a fight finishes like that, where it's just not that technical of a choke, do you still get the same satisfaction? Like that was a good win. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't.
I do. I mean, to some extent, I think it's a little bit more confirming the technical, I guess, like abilities that they have. It's more affirming if it's a really clean choke. Like if he took him down perfectly past his guard, beautiful back take, and you know, just by the books hand fighting and sinks in this perfect choke, you know, Oliveira style. It's a little bit more promising that he's gonna be able to pull that off against somebody who's better than Jamie Mullarkey. But I would say he leaves some questions unanswered when he gets the win by just kind of like pushing on his face really hard. It's like, okay, some people, you know, in the higher ranks probably wouldn't let you finish a sub like that, you know?
Yeah, and there's something to be said of like, I see that choke, and I know that Jamie Mullarkey is not going to go out to that. He's going to tap because his neck hurts. And I understand that. And we've had those chokes happen to us in the gym. But it's just when I see a choke go in, I'm like, this guy needs to tap because he's literally going to pass out and, you know, could die if the guy holds on to it for a while. You know what I mean? That shows dominance. But just neck cranks, they just don't give me that like wow
it's not
factor.
As satisfying. It's not as clean. Yeah. I agree. It's almost like it's yeah, I mean, if we're talking in a self-defense scenario, right? Someone is not going to, you're not going to completely incapacitate somebody with a neck crank like you will for a choke. I mean, if your brain shuts off, your brain shuts off. Doesn't matter how tough you are. You can't survive that. And it's actually a misconception a lot of people have. I've made some videos about this, but not every time the choke is over the chin is a neck crank, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes like you can actually choke people through the jaw, and but a lot of people think that a neck crank is any time that the jaw is getting pressed, and it's not necessarily the case, right? Because a neck crank is really it's tension on the spine, right? Which those kinds of submissions are illegal in any jiu-jitsu competition, but they hurt, right? I mean, twisters are kind of, I would say, is a kind of spinal submission. But you can actually choke somebody through the jaw, right? You push the mandible bone, and it compresses. Literally, you're pushing the jaw through the soft tissue in their neck, and it puts pressure on the arteries in your neck. And you can literally, I mean, it is not a neck crank, because you can literally see videos of people getting put to sleep with mandible rear naked chokes. That being said, this was not a mandible rear naked choke. This was a because it's not necessarily a mandible rear naked choke when the pressure isn't going through the jaw, but it's going into the side of the jaw and it's pushing his head back, right? And all what's happening is just like a shearing force on the spine, and that just absolutely sucks. And it just means that he didn't really do the proper hand fighting he needed to do to clear the path to actually sink in a proper choke. And against people who are better at hand fighting or better at defending their neck, he won't have that same opportunity. So, go ahead.
Or when there's more at stake. When you're fighting Jimmy Mullarkey, he doesn't care. He's not going to get cut. He's just going to take his 9th loss in the UFC and just go on to his next one. He's a gatekeeper. Right?
I mean, I don't know. If he loses too many times, he will get cut. But I see what you're saying, though. There's a different level of, Alexander Volkanovski, when he fought Brian Ortega, and he was in that really tight mounted triangle or mounted guillotine, a lot of people would have tapped if the stakes were lower. But at a certain point, when the stakes are high enough, you're going to tough it out. And the stakes at this point aren't high enough for Jamie Mullarkey to be like, I'm willing to have a minor spinal injury, to win this fight.
Yeah, it's hard for me to really get on somebody's hype train until they have wins when the stakes are high. And that really doesn't happen until you get into the rankings. So, all I can say is that I'm really excited that Quillen will get a ranked fight next. That's all I can really say.
And he fights often. He doesn't have this weird problem that so many people have where they have to fight once every 9 to 12 months. He's fighting every 3 months. Like, we're probably going to see him in May or April. Yeah. I mean, that's at this rate, that's when we're going to see him next. And if he keeps doing this, he's going to march his way right to the top 5 by the end of the year easily. Like you said, I would love to see him fight a Michael Chandler. I don't want to see him fight Beneil Dariush, but that's probably on the table. Yeah, Manuel Torres. I wouldn't want to see him fight Mauricio Hufi. I'd probably rather see that fight happen later down the road.
Yeah.
But really anybody who's in that 10 to 15 for sure should fight him. I mean, this is, like I said, even if this submission wasn't as clean or kind of promising, as, maybe a super technical choke would be, there's no denying that he's got a wide skill set. He fights often. He's aggressive. He's got good finishing instincts, and I would love to see him I'd love to see the UFC push this guy, just ram him through the top 15.
100%. And I know we've already talked about weight cuts in the past, but if there was ever a case to be made for fighters to fight at their natural weight class, I think it would be activity. I think fighters could fight way more often if they didn't have to cut weight. Look at Muay Thai.
I'm sure they could.
I remember I saw like a YouTube short on Carlos Prates, and he said that when he was fighting Muay Thai, like in his amateur career, he had like 10 fights in a year. Like he was
fighting once a month.
And that's just the reality of Muay Thai. They fight so often, and it's like, it's a dangerous sport, probably as dangerous as MMA, the elbows and the cuts. So why are these guys fighting 10 plus times a year? And MMA, you fight once or twice a year and you just go on vacation. It's like, do you want to progress your career? And I think weight cutting is a problem. And if there's ever a case for the UFC to make a change, it's that, honestly.
That's a really good point. I mean, I feel like the weight cutting, not only would it be healthier and the fighters would probably be more athletic, they'd be better versions of themselves, but they would also fight more often. And speaking of weight cutting, man, did you see all the controversy that happened with that one guy who was
Aaron Tao?
Yeah. Basically, he weighed in, right? He had like the little that divider thing to
the towel,
if he's trying to go. Yeah, basically the towel. I mean, they have it. It's a little more official now. They don't want a
DC.
They don't want what happened with Holloway or Gaethje as well, right?
Yeah.
little lifting the towel up, but yeah, they had this thing around him. He's standing on the scale. They're like 122. All right, he's underweight. They take the thing away and they say, "Hey, come back. We're gonna take some photos." So he gets back on the scale, and the little thing rams into the bar, and one of the officials, it's like the Leonardo DiCaprio meme. He's like, oh. He points. He's like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Something's not right here. And so they reweigh him 129. And while they were reweighing him, people were saying that he was like, he had his heels off the scale, like he was trying to somehow cheat it or something. It's like, dude, that's gotta be, not only are you disappointing yourself, but you're disappointing your coaches. Like there's a lot of people who are probably invested in this fight, and you could make the weight. At a certain point, you got to just say, cut your losses and go up to bantamweight. You know what I mean? Not to mention the UFC has to plan. They have to plan out these events, and people paid to go to these things to see you fight. It's just unprofessional.
Yeah. And kind of off topic, but when I brought up Muay Thai, I brought that up because they fight. The culture on Muay Thai is fighting pretty often. And I see a lot of clips of Muay Thai fighters who are not like, chiseled, and they kind of have a little bit of fat. But they fight often, and they have chins on them. I don't know the bro science behind, the more weight you cut, the less of a chin you have. I think that's kind of the stigma around it generally. But I have a feeling that we'd have more Diego Lopes chins if people fought at their natural weight class.
I'm sure we would. Yeah, there's got to be something there.
Yeah.
Well, it can't be healthy for you, right? It's basically, it's making the electrolyte levels and all your cells probably all whacked out, and it can't be. I'm sure it has effects on everything, whether that be your athleticism, your energy, the kinds of shots you can take. I'm sure all the above is affected by it.
Yeah.
Overall, though, I thought it was a pretty decent card. Some highs, some lows, but yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything else to say about this?
No, not really. I'm very content with the card. A lot of disappointment, but
yeah,
shoot, that's life.
Good performances. Good performances from all the winners, anyways. But yeah, this Thursday we'll do a little pre-fight analysis for this upcoming card, this fight night, and that'll be good.
Go from there. Yeah.